This month's topic is about unity, and this month's topic is about unity, and this week's lesson is about what happens when we are divided. And I wanted to show that with an analogy about coal. I want to show you what happens when you take a single piece of coal away from the pile. The piece of coal doesn't stand a chance against the elements around it and quickly fades out. Meanwhile, the coal and the pile works together to make a beautiful fire. In the same way, when you divide yourself from God, your spirit slowly fades away, but when we cling close to each other and God, we will shine like the fire. 1 Corinthians 1:10. I appeal to you, brothers, by name of the Lord Jesus Christ, that all of you agree, and that there be no division among you, but that you be united in the same mind and the same judgment.
All right, we're back. Good morning, guys. Okay, so last week we talked about how will the world know that we are Christians? And how is that, guys? By what? By our love for each other, right? Y'all remember the paper illustration, right? And it's like you don't need, 50 sheets of paper to make paper stronger, right? What do you need to do? You just need to you got to be closer, right? You can be as strong as you want to be as long as you are closer. And then today we're going to talk about what happens when we isolate. Okay? So you all think about the video that Levi put together for us and voiced over on it. What happens to the coal when it separates? It dies. It fades away, right? And it's kind of weird, but like what does coal need to do to burn? It just needs more coal. It just needs to be closer, right? It's a kind of a weird phenomenon, but it's just you just got to be closer. You put it back in there with the other coal, and it's going to warm right back up. And then what's it going to do? It's going to cause the other coal to get hotter, another coal to warm up, and it feeds off of each other. So let's talk about what happens when we isolate. Now, first thing is this: there is a difference between seclusion and isolation. Okay, so seclusion is like I need a break. Come on, guys. Anybody ever need a break? Right? All right. Did Jesus ever take a break? Yeah. Right. Mark 1:35, early in the morning, when it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, and went off to a solitary place where he prayed. Matthew 14 and Mark 6, after feeding the thousands, he went away to a mountain to pray by himself. Luke 5:16 notes that Jesus often withdrew to lonely places and prayed, demonstrating this was his regular habit. So there is nothing wrong with needing some downtime, right? I need to, we've been hard at it, and I need a break. Like most every Sunday afternoon, you can just about guarantee where I'm going to be in my bedroom, right? Like I just need a little nap, need to veg out on some YouTube or something. I just need to relax, eat some Smarties, and then I feel better. Okay, all right. So seclusion is okay. It's okay to take a break. But we're not talking about seclusion, okay? We're talking about isolation. Isolation is the idea of separating yourself from everyone else and everyone else separating you from everyone else. And it's like this ongoing thing of not interacting with people, right? And I'm not even talking about maybe a social anxiety. I'm not talking about that stuff, okay? We're going to explain this some more. But isolating is not healthy. That's really bad. So when the whole month of December is about the church being unified, and it's about us having close-knit relationships, and it's about the piece of paper, it's like, man, it's so much stronger when what happens? When we're closer, and you fold it and you fold it, and eventually, although Brex and Corbin gave us a real good run for the money, like they tore it more times than I thought they would. But you get close enough, you're not tearing that sucker. Well, the opposite of that is true. If you don't stay close and connected as a church, you are like on the edge of falling apart. Does that worry anybody? Okay. If Sam says yes, I'm going to move on. So Sam said yes, I'll move on. What happens well, here's what happens. When we isolate, bad becomes worse. One of the things that happens is things that maybe are really about, this bad start to turn into what? They just get way worse. Some of it is we exaggerate when we're on our own. And some of it is we make it worse. Some of it is, how about this? Maybe Satan doesn't need to send an enemy. Maybe Satan just needs to get you alone and you'll be your own worst enemy. So there are times that we need to take a break, that we need to seclude ourselves. We need a little decompression. That's fine. But there's definitely times that Satan wants us to isolate ourselves because that's where he can do some major, major, major damage. It is not normal to not be in a warm, hot, cold environment with God. It's not normal to not be in a warm, hot, cold environment with godly friends. You need backbones, right? That doesn't mean you need 200 of them. You don't need 200 close friends. Even if it's just two, yeah. But you need to be connected with other people because bad things happen when you start getting alone and when you start getting in your own head and when you start thinking by yourself and when you stop having an outside opinion, your opinion goes haywire. And by I mean you, I mean me. Okay. So I'm going to talk about there's two big reasons why we isolate ourselves. Here's the first one: sin. Has this ever happened to anybody that you got a pretty decent prayer life, and then you get involved in some sin, and then you're like, I can't pray to God right now. Anybody else? Like I don't feel worthy. I feel like a hypocrite. I feel like I don't need to be praying right now because I've been a bad person. And it's so hard for me to convince myself that that is exactly what the devil wants. But that is exactly what the devil wants. And you all need to tell me this, right? You need to tell me. Not right now, but at some point, you need to tell me, like, Will, when you are being the worst person is when you need God the most. Right, church? So what happens? We just studied this in John chapter 4. You got this lady who is a reject from society. She's going to draw water in the middle of the day. And where's she going? All the way out there. Those are the phrases that are used. This lady is drawing water. in the middle of the day when it's the hottest, and she has to go all the way out there. And when Jesus offers her living water, you know what she says? I would love to never thirst again and to never have to come back out here to get this. Right? So what has she done to herself? She's done what we have all done to ourselves. We have, what's that word? Shoot. Like self-sabotage. It's kind of like we've self-sabotaged ourselves and society hates us. And you know what we do when we sin? We do what the woman does. We're like, you know what? I'll just go draw water when. Well, nobody else is out there. And I won't go to the well that's 5 feet from my house. Where am I going to go? I'll just go way out there. I can't tell you how many times that I've been involved in a self-induced problem. And you know what my solution is? Run away. Start a new life. Go to a different school. Well, I got kicked out, but go to a different school. It's like I want a fresh start, instead of what? Facing my problems. So this woman in John 4, the society has separated her. She's on a whole different level. And what has she done to herself? She's also separated herself from society. Sin separates us from God in the big picture, like in terms of salvation. Like Jesus being on the cross. What happened when Jesus had the sin of the world? What did he pray to his Father? God, why have you forsaken me? Because that's what sin does. What happened to Adam and Eve as soon as they committed one sin? They got kicked out of the garden because God cannot be in the presence of sin. So sin does 100% separate us from God. But here's the other thing. The problem is Jesus was born to die to unite us with God. That's the problem. The problem is although sin separates, Jesus unites. So we need to act like Jesus unites us to God. Here's what else. So sin separates us from God in the immediate moment. That's what I was saying earlier. But sin also attacks our worthiness to be in the presence of God. But here's the other problem. The other problem is that with Jesus, we can boldly approach the throne of grace. That's a problem. That's a problem for sin. It's a problem for Satan. It's a problem for isolation. It's because sin makes us think that we can never be saved, but Jesus says, yeah, you can. And because sin thinks we could never approach God in our day-to-day life because I'm a failure and I'm a screw-up, but Jesus says, yes, you can. Because I am going to boldly grab you by the hand and bring you into the throne room of God and say, this is my brother and this is my sister. Dad, hear them. So sin wants us to be isolated. It wants us to be ashamed. But here's the deal. Sin is either an opportunity to draw you closer to Satan, or it's paradoxically an opportunity to draw you closer to God. If you fight temptation alone, you will lose alone. And if you fight temptation with God and with friends, you will win as the Lord's army. That's a good quote. I didn't come up with it. Okay. Holy Spirit did. Give the Spirit some credit. Sin is either an opportunity for you and Satan to get closer together. You go off on your own, go into your closet, get in your little headspace at night, and you can't fall asleep, and it's fine. You can either get closer to Satan right now, just you and him, or you can turn it into an opportunity to say, God, I need to draw closer to you. You can turn it into an opportunity to call somebody, to text somebody, to tell your spouse, like, right now, I need help. And then guess what happens? You conquer as victors, as a group, as the Lord's army. But you will not win alone. So, sin wants to isolate. Here's what else. Okay, here's something else to think about. Hell is not a kingdom of bad people that is led by the king Satan. You all need to know this. In hell, you don't even get to share a jail cell. There is no unity and sense of community in hell. Satan ain't in charge. It's your private own dwelling of pain and suffering, like all the other people who will be there in their private individual dwelling of pain and suffering, like he himself, Satan, is going to be in hell with his own private dwelling of pain and suffering. Satan is not in charge. Hell is made for the devil and his angels and for people that want to be alone in their own pain and suffering. You can literally be living hell right now, in some sense. If you are isolating yourself, if you are letting sin isolate you from God in your salvation, and if you're letting temptation and sin isolate you in your day-to-day life, You are experiencing what it's like to be in hell. There's no camaraderie. There is no like, me and the buddy, while we're all in this bad thing together. No, it is you by yourself, and Satan is losing. He is not in charge. He is also losing. Have I said that? Satan is also in hell losing. He is on his way to prison, and he is taking everyone down with him as much as he can. He doesn't want to be there, oddly enough, alone. He wants to take as many people down with him as he can. Now, here's the opposite of that. Heaven is a kingdom of holy people led by Jesus Christ. It is a family, it is a group of people living as one who have loved righteousness and enjoyed living as one. It is a congregation of persons who have all things in common and love bringing their sin to the light. How do y'all like that picture? Not super excited. How do y'all like that picture? Better? That's your choices. Like that's the choices. The choices are not good people versus bad people. The choices are, do you do something about your bad or do you enjoy your bad? Because we're all bad people. We're all terrible people. What are we, Josh? And selfish morons, apparently. We're awful people, guys. We are terrible. But your choices are, do I want to spend eternity in hell with people who love evil? Or do I want to spend eternity in heaven where people love good? Not people that are good, because there's only one person that's good. But I want to surround I want to surround myself with people that are constantly working every day on being more like Jesus. And that doesn't matter if you are 99% of the way there or you're in the 1% of the way there, right? It's about the direction. On the flip side of that is, I don't care if you're 99% like Jesus. If you're heading down to 98%, I don't want to be around you. I want to be around people that are looking up, that are moving forward to your death date is your new life, right? Like, I can't wait to die to myself, and I can't wait to leave this earth. We sang about that if you didn't know. Josh led us in that. I am looking forward to going to heaven because you know what heaven is? It's more of this. And if you don't like this, you're not going to like heaven. And that's for real. If you don't like family, if you don't like people of the same objectives and of the same passions and of the same transparency, like, I've got problems and I need help. If you like being in the dark on your stuff, you'll love hell. But that's not what God's church is about. Here's another important thing, okay? Sometimes we isolate ourselves because of sin. Here's something else. I don't know if y'all have ever tried to do this, but okay, so I saw this video online, and this guy was kind of posing, not like impossible questions, but just kind of little brain teasers. And it was like, if you were born deaf, which means you can't hear, right? What language do you speak in your head? That's a good little, that's a good question, I'm going to give y'all another little stumper here, okay? A little brain teaser. Don't answer, just think it to yourself. Can you encourage yourself? Maybe I should rephrase this question, okay? Is it easier to encourage yourself or to let someone else encourage you? You might be getting all sorts of missed answers. Might be if you are, yeah. I should have put this in the Jim. I set you up. I'm sorry, that's my fault. Okay, let me set it up one more time, even better. If you are isolating yourself because of sin, can you get yourself out of that situation on your own? It's very hard. If you are isolating yourself because of your own sin, it is very difficult to encourage yourself because you hate yourself, right? You're like, I'm the problem. It is nearly impossible. It's very hard when I hate myself for me to encourage myself. You know why? Because I hate myself. And sometimes what you need to do is like, Hebrews 10:24-25. Why do we get together? Well, because you're supposed to put money in the box to pay me. That's why we get together, isn't it, church? That's the sole reason, right, Larry? That's the number one reason why we come to church here, so y'all can pay me, right? That is not why we get together, guys. We get together to encourage one another and to stir each other up to love and good deeds. I have a very difficult time stirring myself up and encouraging myself to go back out there and get after it. You know how I do a really good job going out there and getting after it? When I talk to you all. I do so much better when I get around you guys. Okay, so that's another problem of isolation. And here's the last thing. There's another cool little quote I heard. If you could have 5 minutes with Jesus, what would you say? And this is pretty good. Y'all ready? You can have as much time with Jesus as you want. You just got to start talking to him. You are not alone ever. You are as alone as you want to be. You're as isolated as you want to be. John 14:18, Matthew 28:20. Do not fear, God says, how many times in the Old Testament? Don't be afraid because why? I am with you. Not, I gave you some really good weapons. Do not fear because I am with you. So, sin likes to isolate, have a clear picture of what hell actually is, have a clear picture of what heaven actually is, have a clear picture of why we actually come together. Like there is a benefit to meeting together and not like um like have y'all ever heard people that are like give me Jesus, not the church. You know, like I'm not about church. I got my own personal relationship with Jesus. That's fine and that's fantastic. You also need the church. And you know who else the church needs? You, right? Because there are things that we do when we come together that you cannot do at home alone, that you cannot do trying to do your own self-made religion at home in your own closet. Are there some Sundays that you're like going to be out of town or something and you got to, yeah, like this isn't about church attendance. But the point is, Jesus is smarter than you are, and Jesus is smarter than I am. And what Jesus says is, I want the people that love me to get together and talk about their problems. Okay. So who am I to screw up with his plan? I'm not going to mess with his plan. So Hebrews 10:24-25, there is some spiritual benefit to us getting together. And some of those things are like, it's really difficult for me to pull myself out of my own mess. And it's really difficult for me to relate to somebody, right? It's really difficult for me to like, oh, wow, I never knew you've been through that. If you don't do what? If you don't talk to each other. And the last thing is, I hope somebody here today needs to hear this. You are absolutely never alone. Man, if I had 5 minutes with Jesus, what would I ask him? You have as many minutes with Jesus as you ever want right now. You did last night, you did this morning, you will this afternoon. You have all the time because Jesus is on your side and Jesus is with you. He will not leave you alone. Okay. And then here's something else different. The other thing that I think can also happen is we can isolate ourselves because of pain and suffering. Or maybe it's not even like my own fault. Maybe it's just like I've experienced pain and suffering, but here's some other things to think about, okay? I think something that Satan likes to do is he likes me to think that I am the first person to experience this pain and suffering. This is not at all to take away from what you're experiencing. But I think sometimes Satan likes me to think no one understands what I'm going through. You know, that's a pretty bold statement if you think about it. Like, um, I'll give you another one. Like, anybody in here giving birth to children? Mamas giving birth to children? Come on, let's give it up for mamas giving birth to children, okay? Men, men, glad we don't have to do that, right? Like that's a nerve-wracking experience. If you've been in there, you know, like it's like, man, this could go sideways a bunch of different ways. Here's also what you got to remember, okay? You have to remember that for 90% of human history, what have women done? They've given birth to children, not in a hospital. And now we're giving birth to children in a hospital with doctors and with research and with medicine and with modern technology and everything else. That epidurals, with epidurals, amen. Not taking away from what women, like it's still not like just a walk in the park, but like you really don't have to just completely lose your mind that like your wife is going to die during labor and delivery. You know, like and lady, and I tried to do this a little bit with Kelsey. Super easy for me because I don't have to do labor and delivery. But I try to do that a little bit because, like, remember, like you're not the first person to give birth to a child, right? But sometimes we like to think like the world has never encountered this problem before. I will have to face this on my own and have to come up with a solution by myself. And I could lose. I'm probably going to lose. And what you have to remember is like, there's only one way that you physically got here is because your mama did what? She did the thing that you're about to go through. So you know what you should do? Talk to your mama, right? So one of the things is with our pain and suffering, Satan likes us to think I'm the first person to experience it, or in a different way of saying that, nobody understands what I'm going through. And the crazy thing is that could not be farther from the truth. Like it just, and I know there's crazy stories out there, but chances are somebody knows the types of feelings. Maybe they don't have the exact specific situation, but somebody knows the types of feelings that you're going through, and you need to be talking with them. All right, here's another one. Maybe I think I deserve it. How about that? I mean, Job's friends like to do that to him, right? Why are you suffering, Job? You must have done something wrong. I mean, nobody suffers pain and suffering unless you've done something wrong. And so, what Satan likes for us to do is he likes for us to lock ourselves in the car and not get out of the car and sit there and listen to, sappy music and just stew over, I'm experiencing these consequences because I'm a filthy piece of trash. Okay? How about this one? Maybe I think it is my burden to bear alone. I absolutely 100% hate this one so much. In the sense of there are people, I'm not gonna get super detailed, but there are people that are close to me, whatever, that enjoy the burden of bearing their pain by themselves. Like I like saying that this happened to me and I got through it by myself and I didn't have to ask for anybody else's help. I literally have actually I talked to Monica and Josh and Ashley, a few other people, like I have this weird thing every once in a while. I will kind of envision what it would be like to get to play the victim card. You know how bad that is to play how bad it is to play the victim card? And I'm not taking away from the legitimacy of the bad hand that you've been dealt. But what Satan loves to do is he loves to take our pain and suffering, and he likes us to think, I'm gonna do this by myself, and I'm gonna make sure I don't have to ask for help. I'm gonna make sure that everybody knows I've experienced this on my own. I've dealt with it myself, and you don't know what I'm going through, and it is my burden to bear. And there could be nothing further from the truth. That is the absolute worst thing you can possibly do with your pain and suffering. Is take it home alone. That is not healthy. It is not good. And here's the last thing. Sometimes maybe our pain and suffering isolates us because we think it's a sign of weakness. I'm not going to like share all the details with this, but I'm going to brag on my dad for a second. Several years ago, like dad did something bad. It wasn't like anything catastrophic, okay? But dad did something bad. And maybe it was like a couple nights later, I don't know. But anyway, he calls me and Andrew and John over, and he, in front of me and my brothers, he just he confesses a little sin and he apologizes about it. He's like, I'm really sorry, and um, I'd like for y'all to forgive me. There was nothing catastrophic. Don't start making up scenarios in your head. No, but like, I don't think you all realize my dad is. Have y'all seen him? He's like 6'2". I mean, he's a big old boy, right? He has like the best bass voice I've ever heard. You know, loves muscle cars. You know, he's your classic, like, he's intimidating, right? And there are a few things that make my dad a bigger man in my eyes than my dad asked for forgiveness once. Like, you want to be a real man? Apologize. That's a real man. You want to be a real man? Tell somebody about your sin. You want to be a real woman or man of God? Share your pain and suffering. Because that stuff's meant to be bared among all of us and not alone. Y'all probably heard this before. Have y'all ever been to like a what do you call it? Like a horse pool? There's a better term for it, but you know where they like horses, they pull stuff. It's like a competitive thing, huh? Okay, good. I'm glad I was close. Horse pool. There you go. Did y'all know? Like it's. I've heard this is a thing. Maybe it's just a good preacher story, but let's just say it's true. All right. If you got a horse pool and you do like one horse by itself, you know he's going to pull 2,000 pounds. So if you have two horses, it should be able to pull 4,000 pounds, right? But what happens is when you put two horses together, they pull 6,000 pounds. Because you just work harder and you work better and you carry a load better when you do with other people. It's just how it is. There's no science to it. It's just how it is. So your pain and suffering is not a sign of weakness. In fact, it's a sign of absolute total strength when you start to tell people, I need your help. Because you know what you're really saying? You know, I'd rather be victorious this week instead of lose again. I'd rather have a good day instead of a bad day. I'd rather Satan not steal my joy. That's all. Psalm 23:4, we are never alone. So here's the closing two questions. Do you feel alone in your sin? Do you feel alone in your suffering? Satan wants you to isolate yourself from help. He wants you to continue in sin in the dark, away from the church, away from God, away from any sort of help. Let Jesus confidently bring you as a brother and sister to the throne room of the Lord. Be resolved to no longer linger. Do y'all know we sing that song? I am resolved no longer to linger. You know what that means? I have made up my mind that I'm not going to waste any more time on this. If I had thought of this sooner, Josh, I would have told you. We could have sang this. That's a good one more time, guys. I'm resolved. I am resolved no longer to linger, right? I have made up my mind and I am determined. I will not waste any more time. Any more time with what? Feeling alone in my sin. God sent Jesus here for a reason, and it's for you to be connected with him. Are you going to waste Jesus dying on the cross? I hope that makes you feel bad. Are you going to waste Jesus dying on the cross? Or are you going to take advantage of it? All right? The other thing is, you all need to understand that the Lord is familiar with suffering. What did he watch his boy do? He watched his boy die in front of his own eyes. He watched his boy call out for help. And he did nothing about it to ensure that you would have life and life everlasting. So you need to understand that when you decide that you're going to talk to God, you're not talking to somebody who can't relate to you, are you? God knows what it's like. He has experienced the most pain and suffering that you can experience. So I need to spend more time with the Lord. Jesus is familiar with pain. He's familiar with suffering. You know what else Jesus is familiar with? Jesus is familiar with betrayal. I'm not going to ask, but anybody in here ever been betrayed? Jesus is familiar with being isolated by society. Jesus is familiar with being hungry. Jesus is familiar with being tired. Jesus is familiar with watching people walk away from God. Like, I'm giving it to you on a platter. This is what you need to do. Rich young ruler, go sell your stuff and get to the poor. What does he do? Walks away sorrowful. Jesus is used to as much rejection and everything bad as you can possibly think. Let him heal you and let us share the load. Amen, church? Okay. So this is an important day because whether you respond right now in the next 60 seconds or you respond this afternoon, here's what you need to do. All right, I'm going to give it to you. Here's what you need to do. If you are not in a saving relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ, you need to fix that today. Okay, there's that. Okay, here's what else there is. Most of us in here probably are, right? If you are in here today and you are struggling with sin, do not go home alone and keep struggling with sin alone. You must get the Lord your God involved in fighting your sin. And you must get your Christian friends involved in fighting your sin. That doesn't mean you have to tell the preacher, doesn't mean you have to tell everybody in this church. But find one or two people you must get involved in your life, or you will fail this week. You will continue to fail because you cannot win alone. And here's the other thing you're going to do. The other thing you're going to do is if you are experiencing pain and suffering, maybe it's not like I'm a sinful person. Maybe you're just like, I have this terrible thing that happened years ago, that happened this past week, that is currently going on. I can't tell you how many times I have vented and told people how frustrating it is that our house is not sold. And that feels so good. It feels so good to just say it. It feels so good when somebody's just like, I'm sure that's really annoying. Right? I don't have any more money in my pocket after the conversation with you guys, but I feel better. I feel better. It actually helps. Like, it actually helps to tell people, like, man, sometimes I can't stand this person. It's just driving me nuts. I don't know what to do. Can you please help me? What would you do in this situation? There's this thing coming up, and I'm absolutely dreading it. You know what you should do? You should talk to somebody in this room about it. Do not go home alone. Sorry, do not go home taking on your pain and suffering alone. It's not your burden to bear alone. It's not your right as a victim card. It's not being a sign of weakness if you decide to ask for help. It is none of those things. We are a church family, and surprise, we have problems. Surprise, that's why we have them up here on pictures. So it's not a surprise if somebody goes forward. Okay, church family? It's really important that we all feel 100% confident in this. We should never, ever, 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 ever say, I cannot believe that so-and-so went forward this morning. You know why? Why should we not be surprised, guys? Because we're not perfect. I would be surprised if somebody never went forward. That would be surprising. I would be surprised if someone never asked for prayers. That's a shock. I'd be surprised if someone never asked for help. But it's normal to ask for help. So if there's something that we can help you with today, maybe we can get around you, pray over you. Maybe you can write it on a note. Maybe you can do it after church. Maybe you're going to call somebody. I don't know what it is. I'm not trying to tell you what to do specifically, but I'm telling you the goal. And the goal is do not face your sin and do not face your pain alone. So we're going to stand and sing, light the fire. First phrase is, I stand to praise you. Josh is going to lead us. If you have a spiritual need, you are absolutely welcome to come up here and to address it today.